some foolish people out here who look at their personal relations with white folk, and they have good white friends. And I'm not doubting the sincerity of the friendship. Not at all. Not at all. I do not doubt that blacks and whites can be truly friendly, and we should be friendly as people. And I don't see any problem with having those friends, you know. But do not confuse your personal relations with the relations between groups. Do not always assume that the dynamics that determine your personal relationships are the same dynamics that can be used between groups. That's a serious error that a lot of people make. I live by the code, that's my eye. Whipping vegan food up in my pot. Why they claim I acted so unruly? Cause I'm listening to Wally Move Rudy.
Peace, everyone. This is Geechie Motivator. I'm here with two beautiful people. We're talking about homesteading and living off the land. I'll let my two esteemed guests introduce themselves, and then we'll get started. If you're watching on YouTube, you can share the link. If you're watching on Facebook, on my Facebook page, you can just share the link and invite people to the dialogue. Go ahead and introduce yourselves.
Well, I'm Zoe. I am a lifelong Detroiter. Been here on this existence for 31 years. I'm a father, I'm a farmer, steward of the land. And, you know, with all those titles, I navigate doing the work. The work is daily. So, you know, I steward the land. I protect the land, make sure that, you know, things are running right around here, and, you know, make sure that the living spaces are also adequate for us and our family too.
Go ahead, sis.
Okay, peace and love, everybody. Sawubona, sanibonani, nanga def, amosi, nango, uribo, salam alaikum, what up though, what up though, what up though. My name is Huron Nyar Kasagam, and I identify as a Detroit African, born and raised in Nairobi, primarily, Kikuyu, Johannesburg, East Lansing, Michigan, and Detroit. I'm 30 years old in this skin, and I have lived in the United States of America for 10 years, where I arrived on the intention of seeking a higher education. I studied at Michigan State University, political theory, philosophy, constitutional democracy, African studies, and my journey into Black America was founded by a seed in Pan-Africanism and my relationship with Zoe, who is a brother from Detroit. And it is this relationship that had us building our homestead and family here in this here Black Mecca.
Thank you. So I want to get started with, you know, I don't think that there are a big community of homesteaders and people who live off the land or even growing their own food. For the people who are new to the homesteading idea or thinking about it, what are some things that you think, some foundational things they think they need to know when approaching homesteading and living off the land?
YouTube is your friend. That's the first one. I would say that, you know, plan to do your best, but also know that, you know, you will encounter difficulties, and that's just part of the growing process. I think back to myself when I started this journey. It was about 8 years ago when I came back to the city of Detroit. I spent some time in Michigan State, and it was a complete change of transition for me. It went from me doing the book stuff to actually applying it, which they don't teach you in school. Michigan State was I'm a little bit salty about the whole college experience. I don't think, it did what it could have done. But needless to say, I was able to meet my partner here, which is a beautiful thing, an opportunity that I wouldn't have been able to have. And they had an awesome and amazing library there. I appreciate you putting that brother Amos Wilson on in the pre-show introduction, because any chance I get, I can't read as much as I want to right now because everything is so busy right now. But I'm listening to Amos Wilson lectures and trying to really absorb the messages and I think about I'm going on a tangent, but I'm gonna bring it in real quick. But I think about how he states about having our own industries and things that we can support and have within our communities, and make sure that we are pouring into our communities. And I think about how the homesteading thing is just because we're in a situation in Detroit where it's more or less a live and let live situation. It's government abandonment. It's civic dissent. So there's a lot of room for flexibility to build what you want. And I think back to like how homesteading is essential for building the Black base of community, because it's all things. It's growing your food, it's maintaining your homes, it's protecting your community, it's being stewards of the land, of the people, of the community, of the family.
Since you got anything that you want to add about things that people should probably know if they're new to homesteading, or it could be some obvious things or things that that you've learned.
Yes. Thank you very much for this opportunity to talk about this. Thank you also to Zoe, without whom I would not have begun my journey into homesteading. And for me, the seed of this journey was literally him. And it's important to say that because we are seeds for each other's journey. And he seeded my interest in land and farming and indigeneity by inviting me to help him water the plants in his garden when we were students at Michigan State University. And it's important to name the place. It was Lilac Community Gardens of Michigan, of East Lansing Food Bank. Yes, which allowed us, students and residents of the community, to acquire portions of land during the summer in East Lansing. And he had acquired a piece of land and something had come up and he needed some support tending the plants that he had already planted. And until then, until he had to leave, you could never have got me to the farm, because the farm and the concept of agriculture is so traumatic to us Black people and Africans. It is associated with struggle life, it is associated with poverty, and it is associated with slavery and brutality. And my journey into the farm was just initially to help water his plants, which I started to do every day. And when I started to water the plants every day, I began talking to the other people who were growing at the farm, at the community farm site. And the place and the culture and the energy in that conversation was revolutionary. It felt like home. It was deep, humane humanity. And within a few weeks, I started to bring my own seeds to the farm, and I chose these seeds based off of what I knew we ate back home. And I called up my mother and I asked her the names of the seeds of the food she would cook, our indigenous food. And I tried to find what I could find. And they included black-eyed peas, which we grow for the leaves, not the seed. But we also eat the seed, but for us, where I come from on the east side of Africa, the delicacy is the leaves. And there's a lot of other beautiful and delicious indigenous African vegetables that I then began to grow in East Lansing and continued to grow in Detroit and continue to grow today. So my path into homesteading has been a journey of attempting to replicate not just the ecology, but the cuisine of my mother, my aunties, my country, my people all across the continent. And in that journey of building the landscape where we can grow these plants and raise these chickens and ducks, we have joined the Detroit Urban Farmers community in solidarity. We are friends. We are a network of almost 2,000 growers in the city of Detroit. We have herbalists, we have apothecary folks, we have all types of energy workers, and all other types of stuff. Black people mostly, but also other young white radicals, yes. And they are among us here in our city, even though it is a majority African-American city, and we love it like that. So homesteading is essentially a process of finding our way back home where we are here in the city of Detroit and embracing the way of life of our grandparents, our parents, our great-grandparents, and trying to add those things here. And as he said, YouTube has been great. Really talking with other people who are doing it too in real life on a day-to-day basis. We have a whole network of urban farmers doing homesteading work in the city of Detroit. So we are together. We move together. We learn things together. We have a very active Facebook group, actually a number of these different Facebook groups, and we meet in person. We visit each other's farms and houses. We learn a lot from each other. A lot of the men and the women have been learning some hardcore home building, home repair skills, and carpentry. A lot of the women are doing, and the men, we're doing a lot of freedom schooling, homeschooling, all types of things. We're running all types of old businesses, crafts. We're reviving a lot of indigenous technologies and all of that. But the key things is that we all can, and we have to. We can, and there are good resources available on the internet for DIY and a community of young folks, old folks, Black folks doing it too.
Love it. So we're going to get into some of that as well. For anybody who's watching, if you have any questions or comments on Facebook or YouTube, you can comment as you ask questions as you want. So what's some things that y'all growing? What's some things you have on the land? But what are some things that you grow in terms of food or herbs or whatever? Like,
better question is, what ain't you growing? So just some things that I've been highlighting recently, and you can I broadcast most of my work on my Instagram channel at Nature of the Hood. That's all one word. You can check me out there. But the many things that I've been highlighting recently have been the African power cress, which is a wonderful, powerful herb that is used like cola nut in certain circumstances to set the intention of meeting spaces and people pass it around, and it's a great oral clean mouth cleaner. Like it gets you right. And this year, people have, like, because of Corona and everything, people have been more open to trying new herbs than I've ever experienced in my short 8 years of growing directly. And when I share the African Power Crush with people, you immediately feel it. It's not a delayed thing. It's 5 seconds before it hits your mouth, and it's an explosion experience. And it does the work on the mouth. And I feel like people in this urban environment and this corporate food system that we have that has destroyed our health, and particularly our mouths. Our teeth are bad and everything like that. People feel that power, and they're like, "Ooh, yeah, I really sit and resonate with that one." But besides the African Power Crest, we are growing elderberries in mass. I just harvested. I don't even know. I didn't count how much elderberries. I just had elderberries for days. We have other herbs like Sweet Annie, which is being used in the context of, like, for antiviral properties against Corona. They're using that in Madagascar for their Corona treatments. But I mean, like, everything. We got an orchard. We inherited an orchard with at least 12. I lose count. At least 12 different fruit trees. We grew the traditional garden staples: the tomatoes, peppers, kales, collards, but also our medicines like marijuana and the mushrooms and.
Did you say amaranth?
Amaranth.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what is there like a amount of property or land that you need to get started? Like how do people even begin? Especially like when I think about Detroit, like I've been there a couple of times, and the first time I went there, I was on Baba Malik's farm, and I'm like, it's a lot of land there, but sometimes you think in big cities there's not land or there's not like grass and dirt. But how much property or how much land you think is needed to just even begin to start homesteading?
Well, I think you should start small because I'm always reminded of the great proverb dropped in Sanjata about you don't know the size of the tree from the seed. So great things have small beginnings, and when you start to think of it mathematically too, if you start small and you cultivate even just a couple containers on your balcony, if that's what you got, during your harvest you have the if you play it smart and you save your seeds. Say you just growing tomatoes and peppers, but in your tomato and pepper plants that you grow in your container garden, you probably got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 tomato seeds in those tomato plants. So you take those, and all you need is a couple. Say you take 24 seeds out of that, you got enough to plant a slightly larger field for the next season, and so on and so forth. So it's all divine mathematics, because you can grow 12 corn plants, and you can save those seeds from those 12 corn plants, and you probably have 3,000 corn seeds right there. So you can plant 2 acres with that. So maybe you go from 2 garden beds to 2 acres. It allows you to scale just like that.
Let me speak about the context of the urban experience in America. So in Detroit, we have vacant land, and that's arable land, the size of the borough of Manhattan. And the context of Detroit is a story of over 50 years of a housing crisis, illegal foreclosures, disproportionately high mortgages, unaffordable conditions in the city that created a situation in which a lot of African American families lost a lot of land, a lot of houses, and these houses were left vacant and dilapidated. And eventually, when they were demolished, we have so much land in this city. However, most of this land has been locked up under the institution called the Detroit Land Bank Authority, and many other cities have similar authorities that make it very difficult for Black people, immigrants, low-income people to access and own land, which is an important thing, because when you're talking about homesteading and farming for real sovereignty, real power, real sustenance, land ownership is critical. And in the case of Detroit, it has been a huge struggle for us, and it's an ongoing struggle for us, not just African American people, but primarily. But many of the local residents who are low-income residents who have been here for a long time, we are struggling to engage the city and the bureaucracy on owning land even right next to our own houses. And it is a catastrophe. It is a showdown of despotism, corruption, all the types of wrong isms is going down in Detroit, centralized under the mayor and the Detroit Land Bank Authority. In the city of Detroit, however, they do not have the capacity, the resources, the police, or the manpower yet to keep us from the land. So many of us have been farming on land guerrilla style. And even though we have expressed intent formally by calling, by writing letters, by sending in all types of applications to try and own this land, the city of Detroit refuses to sell land to the people of Detroit because the mayor, the bureaucracy, the council is intending that European Americans are the ones who are able only to come into this city, take this abundance of land and develop it to their taste. So what is actually going down is the European American youth from the suburbs and from all parts of America are coming into Detroit because the Detroit Land Bank and the bureaucracy of this city only sees them as worthy of any type of radical adventure in creating the future. And so what is happening is that, again, us who have been here, brothers like Lorenzo who have been here for, who it is their birthright to claim a stake of land and power in this country, we cannot, even when we have money sitting in the bank, these motherfuckers will not sell us land right next door to our property.
Right. So I want to stay there from a historical, economical, social context. But this has made me think of a conversation we had. I'm not sure if you guys read Dr. Jared Ball's book. It's called The Myth and Propaganda of the Black Buying Power.
No.
And so he pretty much talks about like the concept of Black people buying power is 1 point something trillion. It's a myth. The number came from this fictitious study, and he go into the economics of how we don't have that kind of money, and we need more organization, like guerrilla style organization that we need trying to circulate money that we don't have. But in the study, he talks about the land. Like I think it was like 90% of the land is owned by white people, and it's not for sale. Kind of like you were saying. And so he's talking about how important it is to use, again, grassroots organization, but also like forcing political change. So my question is kind of off, not on the topic that you was talking about. Can you tell us how the Homestead Act affected Black folks then, and how it probably still affecting Black folks now, if there's any kind of like issues that it has created?
Well, we were effectively excluded from the Homestead Act, per my understanding. I know if my mathematics and historiography is correct, the Homestead Act kind of kicked in after the Civil War, when we wanted all these. It was westward expansion. The U.S. had solved this Negro problem allegedly, and now they wanted to expand west beyond the Mississippi, and they wanted to get all of these lands, these native lands, under white control. So there was, along with the Homestead Act, there's these waves of migration that come in from Europe. These Europeans, these people who say my ancestors never had slaves. These people that say that, you know, the Irish were slaves too. They had direct right to, I want to say, almost 200 acres the moment they brought the white selves to this country. And they would get set up in Kansas, they would get set up in Missouri, they would get set up in Minnesota, and these different places that had just been displaced of these native peoples. And we saw no part of that. That was something that was kind of floated as a quest and qualm to calm Negroes down. We'll give you the 40 acres and a mule. And they end up, you know, when a white man, as Brother Amos Wilson says, when a white man gives you something, he gives you something with a vengeance. So they'll give you the bus systems, but they're going to defund the bus systems. You know, you better off walking. They'll give you access to the schools, but they're going to defund the schools. They'll give you right to the vote. But, you know, so in the same sense, here we are with the Homestead Act, something that could have been positioned for, you know, our ancestors to be in a position to benefit from untold years of working for free at the benefit of the white majority. And that just didn't happen. And I think about my own lineage. I think about my namesake, my grandfather Lorenzo. He was a land refugee from the South, from fleeing from white terrorism. And you know, his parents were some of those or his lineage. It wasn't his parents directly, but his lineage, somewhere in the line, had worked in those unfair conditions, in Jim Crow post-slavery, in Reconstruction, and all the nickel and dime and all the twos and fews that they was giving us post 1865. They had us. They were able to purchase some land. They purchased the land. They purchased almost 200 acres, but because of the lack of opportunities for Black folks in the South, he saw it more lack of opportunities in white terrorism, white fucking terrorism, Al-Shabaab, Ku Klux Klan, Al-Qaeda, all that stuff they try and put on other people. No, they was the originators. They were the progenitors, the originators, the motivators for the Nazi parties, for all of that shit. So that terrorism sent him from Nichburg, Alabama to Detroit, Michigan. And that's both sides of both of my grandfathers were escaping white terrorism in some sense of some shape or form. And you know, they came to the last refuge where you can get a good job as a Negro, and you know, you can support a family and make a way for yourself. And sooner than later, you know, all of that went away too. You know, White man give you something, he give it to you with the vengeance. You say you want to come to Detroit, you want Detroit, fine, have Detroit, but you're going to defund everything. There's no schools, there's no public services. We're going to pull out the money, we're going to make these racist policies, et cetera, et cetera. So, we never benefited from the Homestead Act. No black person can say that. Whereas there are trillions of dollars that have circulated through the white community as a result of the Homestead Act, directly related to the Homestead Act because of these land poor Europeans coming to this country and given the right to land if they just stayed on it for 1 year.
Right. I appreciate that. There's always this misnomer that or this misunderstanding that Europeans work hard to get what they got, or we don't want handouts and or whatever. And everything, well, all kind of wealth in America was built with government intervention or European hegemony. And it's imperative that we not only understand that, but we respond to that in a way that makes sense and is going to put us in a space that they're no longer being dominated. Because I think a lot of people, they fail to realize that racism achieves something, right? It's not just in itself. The purpose of racism is to achieve hegemony and to dominate people socially, economically, psychologically, and politically, and culturally as well. Mm. And so part of the economic domination is controlling all the producing of wealth. And a lot of times people don't get to that anything just because a white person saying hi or being nice to you that they're not still wanting to exploit you. I'm going to read one of the comments from a sister. Would you say that land is something that we as a people need to continue demanding, or is it something that we should cut our losses with? I feel as though we come off as begging versus demanding when it comes to white people. And when I say cut losses, I mean band together and try to force it, whether it be collective funds and ideas or physically. What's your opinion on both parties?
I agree with the statement. We are too nice and placate with the necessity because land is power. I would love to see. I would love to see us have spaces such as the space that my family has made available through me. To go back and connect with our Southern roots. Most of us do have some Southern roots, some Southern land, and we need to get on our elders' head because this is a personal dilemma that we all go through. We got elders that have control of these things, and then they don't want to step aside. They don't want to let the youth bring the energy and the direction to the situation, to taking over the land. So, in my own family, I got my grandmother who at 87 years old is trying to flip the land that she inherited, which is, grandma, you 87 years old, you ain't got many years left. Why won't you leave a legacy for someone else? But there's so much trauma embedded with the land. There's so much. I got a light-skinned grandma from the South, so for her dark-skinned grandson to marry an African and start farming is just like is baffling, befuddling to her, and I mean. That's just a point of divergence for us, and we can't do anything about that. But in that same light, I wish we should press ourselves to be around each other. We need to have spaces where we can go and get away from these fucking racist ass winners. Winners anti-black. I mean, like winter in Michigan, in Detroit is something that at this point in my life, I wish I didn't have to do.
Let me try to answer the question too. Let me piggyback. So land is essential 100%. And if there's something that y'all should take away, we are young, we are just hitting 30s, and we are just coming into our own. And one of the biggest lessons that we have learned is you need to own some property. You need to own land, and you need to own your house. That is the first goal out your parents' house. Figure it out. In Detroit, the conditions are prime, but they involve some struggle because you're talking about struggle houses, old houses that need a lot of work, over 100-year-old houses. It is worth it. Buy the house and fight for your right to buy land around your houses, no matter where you are in the United States of America. And if you're in a situation where there's no land around you, my dear beloved, I encourage you to consider migration into another part of the United States where you can access some land. This is real life, and we're talking about facts. The things that we're talking about that African Americans, Black people, African people, immigrant folks are fighting against in the United States of America and other parts of the world, the kind of forces we're fighting against, we cannot win without owning material property that allows us different kinds of liberation immediately. For one, depending on the amount of land you have, you can cut down the cost of sustenance by growing your own food. You can also use a space as an event space, as a shop, an outdoor shop where you can run your business. This is power. Land is power. One side lot. A house with a big front yard or backyard is power. Do not be fooled. We are telling you the truth. Land is power. In the city of Detroit, a majority African American city, the white folk want to come to Detroit, and they know why. And when they come, they're buying up the land. Young white folks, 25-year-olds, are coming in and they're buying a house for $5,000, and they're buying side lots through the land bank, through their uncle hookup for $100 a piece, and they're owning blocks of land, fencing it up, doing marijuana, keeping their chickens, their turkeys, going to get some exotic zoo animals here in this city, more exotic than anything you'll see now. Listen, it is true, and my sisters and my brothers, my elders, my uncles, my everybody, my younger sisters and younger brothers, it is the truth. We need to fight for land. And on all levels, on an individual level, you need to check out your local land bank authority, look at city auctions. Everybody needs to be aware what houses are being sold, what properties are being sold, and who is buying them. Who is racking up the properties in your neighborhood? That is power. Because when it comes down to the wire, when COVID hits, when Trump drops us into some war, when you get sick and tired of washing dishes at Selden Standard, when you're done doing security and you realize that these white folks will never pay you nothing, even when they pretend they're paying you, they don't want to give you nothing. They think peanuts is too good for us. You know what I mean? Like, it is the truth. Right. These white folks in this country expect that Black folk will maintain their role as subordinate staff, no matter what the name of the game is. Right. Subordinate staff and behind the back people. And even those few Black folk who appear to, in conclusion, to succeed financially or otherwise, the ways in which they succeed are often hidden from us. And you can't just flip the switch one day, you're an average person in the ghetto, and wake up as Beyonce. But we are trying to talk about some things that are accessible to all of us. And land is real, and home ownership is real.
One last point I want to make is in many places, in many circumstances, whether you be in Detroit, Chicago, New York, Newark, Philly, wherever, If your peoples came as refugees to these cities, then this is our last stand. This is our last stand in the sense that there is no other home to go to. We don't have the land to go back to and the political force to be like, okay, this is our space. You know, our cities are being gentrified. We're being pushed out, and unless we want to be permanent vagabond people, always with hat out, asking for a handout, we seriously need to make a serious stand on land.
Yeah.
On the land where we are.
Yeah.
One of the things I want to ask, because a lot of times this information is not hidden from people, and it's really like the will to do things is what's stopping us. And quite often, the Mayafa, this horrible experience that we went through, it's done a toll on us psychologically, and oftentimes we are waiting for others to start something and give us the solutions and answers. So my question is, when you think about living off the land, what are some sacrifices? Because that's what I think. I think people are very comfortable with being dominated. There's so many comforts of oppression that like the sacrifice seems too scary. So what are some sacrifices you have to endure or deal with when it comes to this living off the land?
I wouldn't start with the sacrifices. I mean, you know, because that may scare folks away. I think there is a number that we have been done on our minds. And, you know, like I was in school for 17 years. I was 5 years in college and 12 years in pre K through 12, and that shit don't teach you nothing to be but a lever puller for some white man playing the fucking Oz. And we got to get beyond that. This whole process of growth for me, I mean, Corona has been the best shit that's happened to me, and like second best thing that happened to my career. First best thing was getting fired. A week before my daughter was born, I got fired because I was late. I overslept. I was watching the finals, and it was 8 years ago when LeBron won his first ring, and I was watching that shit, and I overslept, and I was already on probation. I was working in finance. I was working in the bank system, and they was like, you know, you got one more, and then that one more happened, and they fired me, and like I was on unemployment then, and I just racked that shit up for 8-9 months, and worked on our raggedy Detroit house to make it suitable for our daughter that was coming into the world. And now, I mean, we got that house for $4,000. Now that house is worth $150,000. It didn't look a certain way. I know we as a people, we get caught up in how shit looks way too much. If it don't look like hot shit, you know, people gonna be like, oh, Zoden fell off. He didn't got to college, he lost his mind, you know, he whoop-de-whoop, you know, and I mean, I got a house on the block. It's worth $150,000 that I paid $4,000 for. You know, I'm able to grow and keep black folks intentionally in my rental property. You know, I'm able to support myself off of it, all because, I mean, the sacrifices, you sacrifice that illusion of safety, because what are all these Negroes doing now? I'm thinking about like how people was going fucking batshit crazy during the first few days of Corona. Oh, I don't know what to do. Master say we can't go nowhere. Master say I got where I don't know what to do. I was tearing off my roof. I say I'm gonna make another $150,000 house right here. So it's you don't sacrifice nothing but your chains, but you gotta be willing to let the chains go. That's the thing.
Let me talk about some sacrifices, guys, from a woman's perspective. So for me, let me tell you what I sacrificed. I sacrificed my whole country. I sacrificed my family, my mother, my father, my brother, my brothers, my nephews. Like, I sacrificed my whole 20 years of my life to come to Detroit to follow this brother who, you know what I liked? I liked that he was invested in Marcus Garvey, W.E.B. Du Bois, and he looked like Neo Soul, and he loved Africa and African things and stuff. Guys, I was 20 years old. And guess what? That was a good move, because at the core of all our movements has been the fundamental questions about Blackness, African people, and living with dignity, living in a place, in a world with dignity, living in solidarity with our communities, our kinfolk, reaching out into the diasporas and rebuilding these relationships and remembering what our ancestors and our elders have told us and continue to tell us. So we don't exist in a vacuum. Our sense of everything and reality and our sense of direction, our compasses are, co-designed, and we're learning together, and we have a lot of elders who are guiding us. So some immediate other sacrifices, financially, yes, you have to start weaning yourself off a lot of these things that we have been socialized to think are absolutely necessary. For me, it used to be going to the mall. I used to love going to the mall all the goddamn time, but that was my experience because where did I go to college? East Lansing. That was all you could really, that was a thing to do when you're not in school. So it was this whole thing of, let me buy this. You need to keep buying. And the energy has changed. It's more so making and thrifting, recognizing the local economy as a powerful force that produces beautiful things that are adequate, and also becoming a maker of the things that you need and finding joy and pleasure and power in that. And it eases the economic stress. Finding multiple sources of income, powerful, and in the process of finding multiple sources of income with people and organizations that are good, do good by you, and treat you right, see you as a full human being, can accommodate you if you're a mother, it can accommodate you if you have a chronic illness, and all of those things. The sacrifices are worth it, and you won't hardly feel it, especially if you plug in to folks who are going on the same journey. And we are here, and there's plenty others, older, wiser, younger. We are a whole community, essentially, a community of folks, including you, including many people who are listening. Because this thing that we are craving, this thing that we are building towards, doing this, we're building towards humanity. It's sort of like giving birth. All of us, we are driven towards trying to be and live with dignity and humanity. So these actions of growing, of trying to be able to sustain your family without a condition of oppression, that stuff that we're talking about is the stuff of just simple human rights. The issue that we're naming here or not naming is the fact that we have been restricted from doing this for so long, for hundreds of years, under these regulations that they call municipal ordinances that ban urban agriculture, that ban urban livestock, that require so much money for you to get a license to do a food business, to do any kind of, even a hair braiding business. These guys have made laws on all levels in this country to make sure that the things that Black people naturally, and immigrants and Indigenous people naturally want to do to sustain themselves, their spirit, they become illegal, or you need some very, very expensive license and training. And that is why we are here also from a political front, and I as a candidate for mayor of Detroit, and we both as political, people, intellectuals, public intellectuals, students of all these great African teachers. We are here because we are naming a force of this European governance, European leadership on all levels, and abuse and terrorism that has kept us away from this natural move to sustaining ourselves in a way that dignifies us and the land.
Love it, love it. So what's happening right now? There's this flow. Brother Zoe gives us this intentional, hard, emotional thing, and then the sis comes on and like literally leads me into the next topic every time. I don't know if y'all noticed that flow, but every time. So my next question is: you talked a little bit about saving money. Could we talk more about the economics of this lifestyle? You know, you're creating and you're producing things, but what is the economics lifestyle? I mean, the economics like in this lifestyle. You could go as far as to like how you sell, what you sell. You talk about like the things you don't need to buy anymore, things like that. Just general thoughts and information about the economics of this lifestyle.
Well, I don't know. You know, when we was going through this process, I you know how you got the family members that hate on you, and you know they'll try to dim your light, or you know, just really deep question your decision, and it ain't got nothing to do with what you got going on. It got more so to do with the shit that they ain't resolved. And my good partner here has a cousin who I shall not name, but woo, glad she ain't around no more. But she used to be like, you know, really like on my head about like the financial things, and I had to break it down to her at one point and say like, sister, you live in New York City. Your cost of living is exponentially higher than anything that I got going on over here. The money that you do make goes to hit that right there. So me and you are not the same. So we can't even compare. It's not apples and orangutans. It's apples and orangutans. It's different continents. It's different subspecies. It's not even the same genus. So when you think about these things, when you start to embrace this homesteading lifestyle, it becomes more about your balance sheet, the assets minus liabilities equals I don't remember the equation, but I did do accounting and finance, and there is an equation, but you know we always try to focus on that income stream way too much more. Like you got all these expenses over here that you could just shrink. Like you know what I'm saying? Like what I need a car note for? I got a car that get me to my farm up the street and back and to the market. That's what I need the car for. I don't need the latest gizmo and whoop-de-whoop. You press that and you get the push button start. Like, no, that ain't even the move. Like I got, you know, I got a phone, you know, it calls and receives calls. I can hop on the internet. You know, I do all the same things you can do, but I got a computer for all that other stuff, man. And you know, you got to be wise about it. You got to be wise. You got to really, like Brother Amos Wilson says, you gotta examine all the things. Oh, why is it that everything that we want to do leads to our oppression? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you want the latest J's? Why? They ain't even sweet. You know, they cost $12 to make. They ain't even quality materials.
Yeah, let me tag team on that. So a summary point is number one, look at how to reduce the cost of living. I think that's a big concept. Reduce the cost of living. So one, if possible right now, or as soon as you can, work your way to home ownership, because clearing off the cost of rent will save you on the economics, and it'll also save you on the psychosocial, because you no longer have the terror. You're no longer living with terrorism of like, if something happens,
my shit's gonna be on the street.
Yes. Oh, this home ownership is big. So another piece of economics is, and so consider buying houses in places where houses are cheap, and also where the legislations
Detroit
are flex enough for you to come in there with your bando and live there as you fix it.
Or because these white folks go get you the little trailer and park it on the side of the lot, and you work on the house in the summer and springtime.
Channel your inner ancestor hardcore. Now is the time to make power moves. And Detroit, for Black people all across the Afro diaspora, America in particular, please take this seriously because the time is running up. Economics, real quick, to sum it up, recommending in terms of homesteading is also a culture. It's a culture that really affirms the place of the home. And people need to, we're brought up in a culture where home is a place where you sleep and you get out of in the morning and you go somewhere else and then you come back only to sleep. But homesteading is about making home the center of life. So you have to think about making your home in terms of just the design, in terms of the way you organize stuff, and just the way you organize your life. So home is a place to be. That'll also immediately cut your costs. And in terms of children and families, I strongly recommend that all Black families in America and all across the diaspora in the United States consider freedom schooling or homeschooling their children. Or honestly, I do consider it. That's it. I can't even say anything else because things is not bad.
I want to add one more thing to the economics discussion. So I've been working with a brother friend of mine, solar company, Family First Solar, Black-owned solar company, and is the economics behind it is I mean, shit. Like once I cut off the energy company, all of my money is P's. It's all pros. It's all pros. It all goes towards whatever I deem it fit for. So you take care of the things you can get around, the taxes, but there are ways, and then you begin to let your mind just really go in full jailbroken mode. It's like you can expand to the multiverse. I mean, there's so many different hacks and things that you can start to involve yourself with, from solar energy to passive solar heating to rainwater catchment to
stoves,
wood stoves
for
biodiesel.
If you're in a place where you can sink a well or borehole, that is the future. I'm getting at some point before all of this Corona stuff shut stuff down, I was getting a farmer friend of mine, another Black man. He in a sunken place. He got a white girlfriend and everything, but we're working on him. But he used to drop off food scraps for my compost pile. Now I got a compost pile that's about 10 feet tall and about 20 yards. So he would just go to these gentrification restaurants, and he would charge them. He'd charge them a service, and he'd bring all the stuff over here and dump it into a pile at the corner of the property. So ain't got to worry about the rats or anything, and they ain't got no neighbors because Detroit was an abandoned city. So I got the compost pile over there, and I'm making soil. Like I ain't going nowhere. Somebody's bringing that to me now. Once things get to rolling back again, there are options where I can just take a small portion of that food scrap waste and put it into a biodigester and make my own methane. Like I got my own cooking gas that I can A, heat my house with in the wintertime, B, store it,
and see sell it. So it's just pros on pros on pros.
Right. Man, you know, one of the things that I love about this conversation is like if people sit and listen to themselves sometimes when they say certain things, like even as I tell you about the book, The Myth of the Black Buying Power, like it literally like it's almost like everything that y'all saying in this helps Black people kind of like wake the hell up. Because the myth was about income from working a job, and this is how much money they have to spend.
Right.
Again, not equating 44% of that income was going to rent, and then healthcare and food and all. By the time you do all that, you don't got that kind of money. And first, the 1.4 trillion was a lie. It was really like income, a guesstimation of 880 billion minus 44%, minus whatever else you're spending, and saying that's how much money you have. But people are not thinking like, no, like your cost of living needs to be lower. You need to stop spending so much money. And so it's this weird thing.
People think that's oppression.
We're buying a lot of junk.
People think that's oppression
and we need to stop buying the junk. And it's that has to be said because I also had to go through the fire. It's a baptism by fire, let me tell you.
Have you gone through the fire? Because you buy junk still.
Listen, I buy junk with more intention. But let me add one more thing. On the economics part, Zoe talked about energy, and there's some really big energy changes that could really shift the whole condition of your life, including power moves like buying and owning houses, not just one, multiple. So one can be your residential, another can be an income property, renting, another you can set up a business. In the context of Detroit, that's very possible for very many of us, including young people with just $2,000. You know what I mean?
I was making minimum wage when I bought that $4,000 house.
Yes.
I was working for AmeriCorps, so I don't want to hear no sorry,
and
sad
if anybody wants
with the family on unemployment, making the lowest. They wasn't giving out the $650.
If you need help, let me throw this in there. If you need help making that move today, buying a house or owning side lots in the city of Detroit, I want to recommend directly. His mother has been working in real estate for years, and this is her work. If you want to reach out to somebody, y'all can reach out to me, Enzo, and we'll connect you to her. She'll work with you, get you some property. Last thing is, in terms of economics, I wanted to just add, really, really embrace the cultural and the arts as a space where you can evolve new businesses and income streams and livelihood. For example, I am in music, I am in film, photography. I do a bunch of different things, as you probably will know or know by now. And I don't do these things for money. But they do turn over money over time in different ways. So cultivate your various passions and loves and skills and figure out ways to, don't expect that everything will make money in the way you might think right away. You know, everything can't be sold and everything don't have a price. But it don't mean you need to stop doing it. I'll say that the combination of things that you do make you a very unique brand and make you then available for bigger money or bigger opportunities that you might not foresee right now. So continue to cultivate your skills. Crafts are big. Learn how to make some stuff or learn how to do some stuff in the arts and crafts. And that stuff is serious. And lastly, a huge one in terms of economics that we don't really think about is the social network and the power of your network. And your network is talking about your relationships. I'm talking about go back and reconnect with your family, your parents, your siblings, your childhood friends, your high school friends, your college friends, your neighbors, the random people. Make new connections, not just here within the city of Detroit, not just here within Black cities in America, across the country, and for Black people in the diaspora, the Caribbean, South America, and in Africa. The future for Black people necessitates and demand intentional reconnecting on all levels, economic, social, political. These things have been told to us by our elders, Baba Amos Wilson, Baba John Henry Clark, Baba Marcus Garvey. We need to remind ourselves and each other that some of the answers to these problems, our elders have them. And they have them on YouTube videos. We need to read these books. We need to have these serious conversations.
Yes, we do need to read.
We need to read these books, y'all. Steve Biko. I'm naming names because the kind of thing we're shifting is wholesome and it's holistic and it's on all the levels. So when you crack one side, you need to crack this thing on all sides and hang on, with the community. And I think together we'll figure this thing out.
All right. So I got 2 more questions before we go. Anybody who has any comments, comment or questions in the comment section. Thanks for watching on YouTube and Facebook. My next question, which you set up earlier, how young should we start with our children when it comes to homesteading? Like how young are you getting them involved? What kind of things are you doing with them?
Let me tell you, my brother, there's no age that is too early. The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. My daughter, my eldest child, Homesteading Nyar, shout out to the young cancer. She is my best helper on the land, by far. And I get I get college students, I get bleeding heart volunteers, I get hood dudes trying to make a quick buck, I get old veterans. But the best help that I've gotten is from my 7-year-old daughter. Like she knows the workings of the business. She knows how to plant the plants, how to take care of them, how to water them, how to manage them, how to give them the proper care that they need. So we should start them early. We should teach them everything that we know, because we are the indigo plants, but they are the dye. So that we'll provide the basis, but they will exceed and succeed us. So there's no use of holding on to something like that family recipe that you want to let go. Like, I don't even understand that one. Just let it go. Give it to the youth.
Yes, and remember that we are past time. The thing we're talking about is something that we are old. We needed to have been in it for the past 500 years. We are late. We children, we elders, we adults, we are all late. We are scrambling to reconnect, to learn this stuff, and we are late. And these things that we're talking about are the very essence of our freedom. They are the very essence of our health, because we're talking about plants. We're talking about medicine. We're talking about the fact that health is built over time every day. Health is not found at a hospital. That is emergency response.
There's no magic bullet.
There's no magic bullet. We're talking about the fact that there's laws of nature. If you want to be able to survive until 100 years old, there's work to be done. There's work on what you're eating. There's work on the way you're able to nourish and heal yourself when you do get sick, because you will. And in terms of children, what should we teach our children? Children need to be born into these environments. And where they can't be born into them, we need to try and find ways in which our children spend as much time in environments where there's life, where not just the park. We are fighting that our people need to live literally inside of environments that look like parks. We are saying that a park should not be a place to go to one in one community, but we're saying that the entire community needs to feel like a park. It needs to have an abundance of indigenous plants, because those plants are the medicine. And these plants need to be freely and readily available seasonally, right there in our community, in people's homes, in people's front yard and backyard. And we do not need to be ticketed for them because of a municipality that abhors anything that looks POC, Black, or Indigenous. So essentially, yeah, as soon as possible, and we are late. Okay.
Appreciate that. So I seen things over the time about different groups, like the Black homesteaders. I saw a Black sisterhood homesteading group, but as I started reading the article, I was like, huh? Like one of the sisters is married to a white man, and she's talking about. It was kind of messy. But can you tell us about any resources that you can share with the people about, again, for people new to it, just getting into it, people thinking about it? Any resources out there that you can share with the people?
I would say a Google search is your friend. Some of the websites that always, if you're looking for like a news feed type of thing that's giving you like, homesteading news, that would be motherearthnews.com. That's a very good website for you to get like, your views from. It's a bunch of white folks, but we got to work with the tools that what we got, and I appreciate them for holding down the knowledge base that, we were taken away from. So there is those, and there's some people doing some beautiful work on YouTube, man. Like Black folks, they doing this, they doing the farm work, they doing the work of the land, of mycology, of farming, of herbology, of herbalism, of shamanism, etc., etc., etc. And I would suggest, just allowing yourself to crack open into this matrix of folks that exist. Shit, just Google Black people that farm, or Black permaculturalists, or you can sift through the whiteness. Like, we have all, if you've grown up in America, you know how to do the double consciousness thing. You are well adept, and because you probably work at a job where you gotta do the double consciousness thing. So when it comes to getting this knowledge, shit, some of these motherfuckers be racist as hell, but you just gotta go get that knowledge from them, and keep it moving.
Keep it moving, and you gotta remember that at the core, that we're talking about resources for you guys, for us all, to learn how to build this whole universe around us and our families and our homes, in which we can live and thrive without these oppressive edges of this world. So when you think about resources, number one, you have to think first of all inside your mind, to allow yourself to see the creative thing for your own journey. Remember that this journey has to be your flavor. So when you're thinking about, you want to buy land and own a home, and you think about resources, of course, it has to be place-based. So in the city you're living in the country you're living in, you have to start finding out, who do I need to know? Talk to what institutions are holding the land, and what are the processes for getting the land. You need to inquire. Then talk to people who've tried and bought this land and succeeded. What did they do? You need to find out. You need to talk to people. You need to put the word out that you're searching for land, or searching for people who can help you buy or own. You know what I mean? On the next level, once you get your home or your land, or you have an arrangement where you have access to these things, you're thinking holistically about, how do I learn about food production, farming, herbs? Google, Instagram, all of these groups are wonderful resources. We need to invite ourselves, give yourself the permission, the authority to learn. Take what you need, take what looks interesting and useful, apply it. What doesn't, leave it alone. You have the power to design. You're a co-designer and a co-creator on this journey towards your freedom. And then I'll recommend that you all document your journey in whatever way you can, because it's going to help us all. And plug in to, wherever you can, random Facebook groups talking about Black people growing food. Join it. There's beautiful conversations and resources right there. Don't underestimate the power of social media.
Love it. Thank you so much. So I appreciate y'all. I want y'all to do this for me as we close. Any final words, any quick wrap-ups, final words about the topic, and even, highlighting anything that we talked about. Any final words for both of you?
Go ahead.
Well, in conclusion, let me say this. So now my perspective on all of this is coming again from a 30-year-old who has lived in America for 10 years, and lived on the continent of Africa proper for 20 years, and who's now coming into adulthood, has 2 children, 7 years and 1 year old, thinking about, of course, paying bills, thinking about children's education and making sure that they learn enough to be able to sustain themselves. I think altogether, I say that some of the best decisions we've made collectively and collaboratively is owning property, owning 2 houses, and that was with the assistance of his mother. So we needed to, there are people in behind the scenes who have some expertise that is above us, that we reach out to. It has also required adulting, keeping up with your taxes, doing what is necessary to keep up these houses, and the stress that goes around that. But hanging on through it, that has lifted a lot of weight of stress. And economically, I say some big moves have been allowing myself, allowing himself, everybody allowing themselves to continue to pursue their personal passions and crafts, and to really advance on the things that you love to do and that you can do well, and grow in your specific industry, and recognize that the land and the homesteading are the anchor. On top of that, you must continue to build other things, and I invite you all to continuously consider multiple streams of income, and to remember, at the end of the day, the most important asset really is us as human beings and each other. This whole work creates a vibe, creates a world for us where other people in our community see us as good people to them, and see us as people who they are comrades with. So whenever we have trouble, whenever we have economic trouble, personal trouble, social trouble, neighbors, everyone is, avails themselves to us in terms of offering material. During the Corona crisis, people would literally be driving by and drop off boxes of different types of food for us, and people drop off food for the animals as well. So it creates a world that is better for not just us as a family, but our neighbors. It improves life, essentially. Go ahead, sir. Finish it off.
Take us home, though.
What was the question?
Just it's pretty much your final thoughts, final closing. Maybe an overview of the discussion, or just any final words you got for the people.
Well, for the people, I would just say, trust your process. Trust that, you are strong enough to make that leap. It is a leap of faith. And just trust that process, that you can and you will succeed. And ancestors are with you, and that you do want to be in a space where you are living your ancestors' wildest dream. It's not just something you just got on a T-shirt, So let us take control of our lives. Let us take power. Let us take the responsibility of power, and let us make the things happen so that our children are left a better future, and our lives are benefited also too.
I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you both of y'all for coming on. Thanks everybody for watching, and we will see y'all next time. Peace.
Thank you.
Peace,
Peace.
peace, 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 peace.